Tamron Hall breaks her silence. Why the Sister Wives tell-all host was quietly shown the door in 2015. In a stunning and long-awaited revelation that is sending shockwaves through the world of reality television, veteran journalist and television personality Tamron Hall has finally opened up about her mysterious and abrupt departure from the Sister Wives tell-all specials after 2015. For nearly a decade, fans have wondered why Hall, a respected and celebrated host who brought a polished edge to the TLC series' dramatic reunion episodes, never returned to moderate the emotionally charged, behind-the-scenes wrap-ups that audiences eagerly awaited after every season. Now, Tamron herself is breaking the silence, and what she has to say is already sparking passionate debate. It was during a candid conversation on her own nationally syndicated daytime talk show, The Tamron Hall Show, that she decided to address the lingering elephant in the room. The topic came up during a broader segment about the challenges women in media often face when navigating male-dominated industries, especially when their opinions or interview styles threaten the status quo. But this wasn't a passing mention, it was a deeply personal, surprisingly raw confession about a chapter of her life that had remained largely unspoken. With a blend of grace, frustration, and fierce journalistic resolve, Tamron Hall told her studio audience and millions of viewers watching at home that she was essentially told not to come back after 2015. That's right, it wasn't her decision to walk away from Sister Wives. She didn't opt for a graceful exit. She didn't fade into the background. She was, in her own words, politely but firmly pushed out. And when she asked why, the answers she got were far more revealing than she ever expected. According to Hall, the tension began long before her final appearance. She recalled how she approached her role on the tell-all episodes with the same integrity and authenticity that had earned her acclaim on NBC's Today and MSNBC. As a journalist, she believed her job was to ask the tough questions, the ones fans truly wanted answers to. When Christine Brown publicly questioned her spiritual marriage to Kody, when Mary spoke about the loneliness and betrayal she had endured, or when Robin deflected questions about favoritism and emotional manipulation, Hall made it her mission to press further, not to exploit the family's pain, but to make space for their truth. But, as Tamron shared, her commitment to real storytelling wasn't always appreciated behind the scenes. "I wasn't there to be their friend," Hall said. "I was there to be the voice of the viewer, to ask the uncomfortable questions, to dig a little deeper, and to hold everyone accountable. That's what journalism is. That's what reunion shows are supposed to do." But apparently, that made some people uncomfortable. She never named names, she didn't have to. The implications were clear. According to her, there was growing resistance from producers and the Brown family themselves over how deep her questions went. There was a feeling that she was veering too close to the emotional core, exposing too much of the tension that TLC perhaps preferred to edit around. And for a show already walking a tightrope between drama and preservation, Hall's incisive style posed a risk. "I remember one time I asked a question about jealousy, and you could see the room shift," Hall recounted. "I asked something like, 'How do you handle the fact that your husband is having a better relationship with another wife than with you?' And the response wasn't anger from the cast, it was silence. But the texts I got afterward, that's when I knew something was off." After her final tell-all in 2015, she said the phone simply stopped ringing. She wasn't asked to come back. When her team inquired, she was told her interview style wasn't the right fit for the direction the show wanted to go in. That phrase stuck with her for years. She said it felt coded, like a euphemism for "you asked too many real questions." And in hindsight, Hall believes that her refusal to treat the cast like untouchable stars may have cost her the gig. That decision not only confused fans but sparked criticism over the quality of the tell-all specials that followed. Many viewers noted a shift: hosts became softer, questions more rehearsed, conflict avoided rather than explored. The shift was so noticeable that Reddit forums and YouTube commentators began speculating that the tell-alls had become more like PR pieces than genuine reflections of the cast's inner turmoil. Tamron's revelation now adds a powerful layer of context to those concerns. 4 years, Sister Wives has billed itself as a documentary-style show that explores the complexities of polygamy. But critics have long accused the series of editing out the darker sides of the plural marriage lifestyle. Hall's comments seem to confirm those suspicions, suggesting that the network may have been more concerned with protecting the image of the Brown family or perhaps their own ratings than holding anyone accountable. What's even more telling is the way Hall has handled the years of speculation about her absence. She never lashed out. She never spilled secrets. She respected the silence, even when it clearly weighed on her. But in this new media landscape, where transparency is king and fans expect honesty from their TV personalities, Hall decided the time was right to finally speak. And she didn't do it to stir drama. She made that very clear. Her motivation wasn't revenge or bitterness, but clarity. She felt it was time to reclaim the narrative, to remind the world that she didn't disappear, and she wasn't sidelined because she failed. She was let go because she dared to ask questions that made people squirm. Tamron also pointed out how different the television landscape has become in recent years. With shows like The Real Housewives, 90 Day Fiancé, and Love is Blind becoming cultural behemoths by embracing brutal honesty and messy storytelling, Hall believes Sister Wives may have missed an opportunity by choosing to play it safe. She said, "Viewers are smarter than people give them credit for. They know when someone's avoiding the truth. And I think, for a while, Sister Wives didn't want to risk the full truth." Her comments have sparked an explosion of reactions online. Former Sister Wives fans took to social media in droves, some applauding Hall's bravery and calling her the only real journalist the show ever had. Others expressed outrage that TLC would sideline someone simply for doing her job too well. And of course, there were some who felt Hall had crossed a line, that maybe she had gone too far in pushing the Browns during their most vulnerable moments. But Hall isn't backing down. If anything, she's standing taller. In her segment, she also took time to reflect on what the experience taught her, not just about the entertainment industry, but about herself. She admitted that, at first, being dismissed hurt. It felt like a professional rejection of her values and her voice. But over time, she came to see it differently. It was, in her view, a badge of honor. "I was told not to come back because I did my job," she said. "And I can live with that." She emphasized how proud she is of the conversations she led during her time on the show, even if they ruffled feathers. "I was invisible to him." Meri Brown finally speaks out on how Kody treated her after their divorce. In a jaw-dropping and emotionally raw revelation that is now dominating headlines across the world of reality television, Sister Wives star Meri Brown has finally pulled back the curtain on what life was really like after her divorce from Kody Brown, and what she's describing isn't just heartbreaking. It's a powerful indictment of the years of emotional neglect, abandonment, and quiet suffering she says she endured while still trying to hold her head high. For Meri, who once appeared to be the dutiful, unwavering first wife in a plural marriage built on faith and shared dreams, this isn't just a personal confession, it's a reckoning. For years, fans watched her smile through the pain. They saw the awkward distance between her and Kody on screen. They noticed the way her laughter always seemed tinged with a certain sadness. Now, thanks to her most revealing interview yet, viewers are learning just how deep that sadness ran. According to Meri, the real heartbreak didn't begin with the divorce. It came after, in the cold silence, in the passive dismissal, and in the subtle ways she was pushed out of a family she helped build from the ground up. Speaking on a recent podcast appearance, as well as during a vulnerable live stream with fans, Meri opened up like never before. Her tone was different. Gone was the overly polished delivery. Instead, she spoke with the voice of a woman finally done pretending. She described how, after her spiritual and emotional separation from Kody became official, his behavior toward her shifted in ways that shocked even her, not because she had expectations of reconciliation, but because, after 3 decades together, she believed she at least deserved basic decency. But what she got, she claims, was indifference. Sometimes worse. The most heartbreaking part of her revelation centered around the emotional void that Kody left in his wake. Meri said that she expected things to change, but not for him to treat her like she didn't even exist. There were birthdays missed, calls never returned, family gatherings where she was left out of key decisions. She said it felt like once the divorce was final, she ceased to matter. To him. To the family. To the dynamic she had helped create. "I was invisible to him," she confessed during the live stream, her voice cracking with emotion. And what hurt the most was not just that he stopped caring about me as a wife. I could handle that. I had been handling that for years. What broke me was realizing he stopped seeing me as a person. Fans were already aware that Meri and Kody's relationship had long been on life support, but hearing Meri describe just how lonely and discarded she felt after their official split adds a painful new dimension to the public narrative. She admitted that she tried to keep a connection alive, not as romantic partners, but simply as co-parents, co-grandparents, or even as longtime friends. But every effort she made, she says, was met with cold walls. When she reached out to share life updates or offer support during difficult family moments, she was often ignored or given one-word responses. Over time, she said, she began to internalize that rejection. For Meri, who was the first to marry Kody legally and who helped usher in the family's early polygamous structure, this post-divorce treatment felt like a cruel twist. She had once been the cornerstone. Now, she said, it was as though she had been erased from the story entirely. I wasn't looking for him to come back, she clarified during the podcast. But I was hoping for some kind of mutual respect. After everything, the sacrifices, the emotional labor, the loyalty, I thought I'd earned that. But instead, I got silence. I got dismissal. What's even more startling is how long Meri says this emotional exile lasted. According to her, it wasn't just a cooling-off period. It was a sustained pattern that played out over months, even years. The only communication she received from Kody, she claims, was transactional, and even that was rare. There were family events where she was made to feel like an outsider. There were moments where her presence was tolerated, not welcomed. And yet, through it all, she tried to maintain a public sense of grace. I didn't want to be the bitter ex-wife, she said. I didn't want to be the one who trashed him in interviews or posted cryptic things online. I kept thinking, maybe if I stay respectful, maybe if I rise above it, things will soften. But they never did. That commitment to dignity cost her more than she initially realized. Privately, she said, she was breaking. She battled isolation, self-doubt, and an aching sense of betrayal. While the world moved on and speculated about her healing, she was quietly falling apart. But everything changed when she stopped waiting for kindness to return from someone who had no intention of offering it. Meri's healing journey began not with forgiveness, but with truth. She had to first admit to herself that Kody wasn't going to be the man he once claimed to be. That he wasn't going to step up and be the friend she hoped for. That he had, in many ways, left her long before the papers were signed. And once she accepted that, she said, a strange kind of peace began to set in. She described how she started rediscovering her voice, not the one she used for the cameras, but the one buried beneath years of compromise. She began spending more time alone, traveling, journaling, and talking with people who actually saw her. Slowly, the grief turned into fuel. The silence stopped feeling like punishment and started feeling like freedom. Still, the scars remain. Even now, Meri says, there are days when she wonders what might have been if Kody had chosen respect instead of resentment. If he had chosen honesty instead of avoidance. She doesn't dwell on those thoughts often, but she allows herself the space to feel them when they come. What makes her story so powerful is not just the pain she's endured, but the courage it takes to talk about it now. In a world where women are often expected to move on quietly, to not stir up controversy, to take the high road even when it leads to nowhere, Meri's willingness to speak her truth matters. She's not doing it for sympathy. She's doing it because silence only ever benefited those who hurt her. And she knows she's not alone. Since sharing her story, Meri has received an outpouring of support from fans and fellow survivors of emotionally neglectful relationships. Many women have reached out to tell her that her words made them feel seen, that they too stayed too long hoping someone would change, that they too were discarded once they stopped serving a purpose. Meri says those messages have meant everything to her. I used to think I was weak for staying as long as I did, she admitted. Now I know I was strong for surviving it. The timing of her revelations is significant. With the Sister Wives series undergoing major transformations, Christine remarried, Yanel reclaiming her independence, Robyn now standing as the only remaining wife with Kody, fans are more curious than ever about what really happened behind the scenes. Meri's story adds yet another piece to that complex puzzle, shedding light on the emotional costs of plural marriage, especially when the foundation begins to crack. The dream of Coyote Pass was once sold to fans as the foundation for a new chapter in the Brown family's plural journey. It was supposed to be a symbol of fresh beginnings, a place where the broken pieces of their unity could be stitched back together with purpose and promise. But now, with the land officially sold for a reported $1.5 million, that dream is no longer just dead, it's buried beneath the weight of broken trust, unspoken tensions, and the hard truth that not every dream is meant to survive reality. Back in 2018, when the Browns first purchased the sprawling Coyote Pass property in Flagstaff, Arizona, it came with hopes as high as the mountains surrounding it. The move itself had been sudden and jarring. The family left behind their beloved cul-de-sac in Las Vegas, where each wife had a separate home but a shared sense of stability. Flagstaff was meant to be something new, something special. The idea was that all four wives, Mary, Yanelle, Christine, and Robin, would build on the land, and Kody would finally bring to life his vision of a compound, or at least a connected community that reflected the values they preached about plural marriage. The property was expansive, just under 15 acres, with gorgeous views, tall pines, and the kind of seclusion that promised privacy and serenity for a family living under the ever-watchful eye of reality TV cameras. At the time of the purchase, the plan was ambitious: build 4 homes, one for each wife, and possibly even a central gathering place for the entire family. The cost of the dream? Over $800,000. That's what the Browns paid to secure the land, splitting it into 4 parcels and assigning names to each. But even in those early days, cracks began to show. While Christine seemed hesitant and overwhelmed, Yanelle tried to be the logistical anchor, expressing interest in starting the building process. Robin stayed mostly quiet, navigating her loyalty to Kody with carefully chosen words, and Mary never seemed completely sold on the idea at all. From the outside looking in, it was clear the enthusiasm wasn't equally shared. The wives were no longer aligned, emotionally or practically, and Kody's once authoritative leadership had begun to unravel. Years passed, and still, no building happened. Fans watched with increasing skepticism as Kody floated architectural plans, drawing sketches on paper, and walking the property like a king surveying his domain. But nothing materialized. COVID came. Tensions exploded. Christine announced her departure. And slowly, the dream of Coyote Pass shifted from a hopeful possibility to a painful reminder of everything that was going wrong. When Christine left the family in 2021, it signaled more than the collapse of her marriage to Kody. It marked the beginning of the end of the Coyote Pass fantasy. Without Christine, the symmetry of the plan was broken. Now there were 3 wives left, but even that configuration wasn't stable. Yanelle, who had held on to the vision longer than most, still tried to make it work. She even moved into an RV and parked it on the property in 2021, a bold attempt to jumpstart momentum and make her dream home a reality. But that brave effort quickly exposed the deeper fractures.